You're listening to Last Word Radio, where you get the last word.
Welcome to the Fourth Line Podcast, part of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. This is April the 8th, 2019. With you today is myself, Carl, and again, it's Playoff Nick.
But that's okay, because we get to talk about the playoffs again. That's so exciting.
The great news about playoff hockey is there's so much to talk about that we decided to record an entire episode without hitting the record button, only to bring it to you again.
We just could not wait to get started. We gotta talk about hockey.
We just got so deep, but now the record button is pressed. I can see it. There. We have a lot to talk about this week. We have coaches fired. We have one coach hired. Another coach might get hired. Some stats. We're going to dive deep into some playoff stats that Nick has never heard. These are fresh to him. He hasn't heard them.
I'm completely unprepared and not warmed up to talk about the playoffs.
No, we're coming in preseason form for this playoff episode. And that's really what it is. This is redoing an episode is the lowest of lows for a podcast. It's not like we've been doing this all season. It's not like this is episode, 226 or something like that.
Well, you know what, Carl? Once you hit the low of the low, there's only one way you can go.
It's true.
That's up.
There's nowhere to go but up at this point in time. Before we dive into all the news of the week, prepare you for the playoffs, let us talk about our friends at Park Power at parkpower.ca. You can head on over there and you can switch your energy and utilities. If you want something better than what you have now, which you should, Park Power is your place to go. Head to Park Power. It is easy to switch. Head to their website and you can find out all the ways that you can do that. It is easy to use, obviously, and they are great supporters of the community. They support local charities and initiatives in and around Alberta, and they also support the Alberta Podcast Network, which is a fantastic thing as well. So, parkpower.ca is where you should go. Nick, do you want to switch things up?
Sure.
Because, look, we just recorded an entire episode, and I want to keep this fresh for at least me and you.
Okay.
To everyone else, this is brand new stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
But for me and you, we've already done this.
Yes.
So let's start with some coach talk.
Okay.
Then we're going to start with the East and finish with the West. Because there is still actually, I said we finished the episode, there is one division we never even got to when Nick realized that I didn't press the button to record. So we're going to start there. We're going to start with the Metro and work our way throughout the playoffs. And let's see how much of what I gave Nick he remembers by the time we get to the end.
Okay. Sounds good.
So coach is gone. 3 coaches. Regular season ended on Saturday. Yep. And 3 coaches woke up Sunday morning to the bad news that they are now unemployed. One of them, the least surprising of them all, Willie Desjarden, was labeled as an interim coach and was informed that he would not be returning as the head coach of the Los Angeles Kings.
Yeah, they basically hired him and said, you are not going to be our full-time coach. And he said, okay. And now they're like, okay, you're done. And he said, okay.
Yeah, and essentially what they...
That's how it went.
Yeah, so now he moves out of his hotel that he was probably living in. He probably didn't even bother to buy a place or rent a spot. He was, I'm just here for the home games and that's it.
Hotel. These coaches have couches in their office.
Oh, okay. I guess so, yeah. He's living in Staples. He might literally be living in a Staples, actually.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know how much an interim coach gets paid these days, but it's not as much as Joel Quenneville's getting, that's for sure.
No, that is certainly not.
So now that he's had to move out from the desk at a Staples that he's living under, we'll get to potential new coaches in LA later, but... anything you expect from next steps of Willie Desjarden?
Nope. I expect him to crawl back into the void he crawled out of when Los Angeles hired him.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, Willie. Huh. I remember when he coached the Canucks.
Really? Him?
Her?
Yeah.
All right, yeah. So let's head to teams a little more surprising than the Los Angeles Kings.
Okay, a little more, but not that surprising.
Right. Which one of these two teams was more surprising to you?
Florida.
Bobby Boughner.
Yeah.
A name we should have known when I started the night by not knowing how to spell Boughner. That I was also going to not know how to press record on a podcast. That's what we should have discovered. When Carl spelled Boughner, Baboogner, we should have known we were in for a night that needed supervision.
Yeah, I should have caught it sooner.
You should have. This is on you, Nick. It's not on me. So we've got Bob Boughner out. Joel Quenneville apparently coming in. Let's talk. Well, not apparently. He is coming in. Well, let's deal with Boughner first. You say more surprising than Housley. What made this surprising to you?
I don't think the Florida Panthers are that bad of a team. I think that they're one or two pieces away. I think that if they had a strong, consistent goaltender, they'd be in a better spot, and Bob Boughner would probably still be the coach.
Yeah.
I do wonder, though, if they had known that they could get Quenneville before they fired Boughner, which I'm assuming they did with how quickly it was all announced.
It happened very fast, right? Fired on Sunday morning, hired Monday morning.
Yeah, so I kind of wonder if, what if they were talking to Quenneville and he said, no, I have no interest in moving to Florida? Would they have still fired Boughner? Do you think that was going to happen regardless of who his replacement was?
Yeah, I would think that had a significant impact, but also to not have it locked down, you got to think that they would have been willing to part ways with him no matter what. They did not have a very successful season. This is back-to-back years that they have struggled and barely missed the playoffs with a strong end of the season run. But yeah, I'm in no way surprised. But
do you think if Joel Quenneville was their coach this year, they'd be in the playoffs?
100%. Yeah, I think. Yeah, because they missed the playoffs. They actually finished shockingly close. Even last year, they went on a very strong run. This season, though, they finished. I'll pull it up here. They finished how many points back? They finished 12 points back. I don't think Joel Quenneville is a 12-point better player or coach. That's 15% improvement. I don't think he can pull that out.
No. I don't know. I truly think that these coaches live and die by their goalies, and if he had consistent goaltending, then I don't know. I don't know if they would have parted ways with him.
Yeah, no, I think that is definitely the case. But at the same point, if you're willing to offer Joel Quenneville that kind of money, I don't know a 6-year-old Canadian that's not willing to move to Florida. So that's a fact.
Actually, most of them are there already.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know better than others. He's a Windsor, Ontario guy.
Yeah,
that's where Windsor, Ontario moves to Florida.
Well, Carl, let me tell you. My dad, my uncle, and 3 of their friends all moved this year to the same retirement home in Florida.
Is it a home or a complex?
No, not a home. Not a home. Okay. I shouldn't have said a home.
Does the Sagan family listen to the show? Not anymore.
I hope not. Yeah, it's off now.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, they're it's more of a community.
Right. Yeah, which is where every Canadian lives down there.
Yeah, it's mostly Canadians. A lot of Quebecers.
Yeah, so we've got, which is great. They'll be able to watch Joel Quenneville coach a team. And when they add the Artemi Panarin, big rumored piece to be joining the Panthers, and he played for Quenneville in Chicago. Apparently he was a fan.
Yeah.
Which I heard too. I mean, if you win, which they did, if you play well, which he did, how can you not like a coach like Quenneville, right? I have heard very few bad things about him.
Big time. And he got favorable matchups in Chicago too, right? He was playing with Patrick Kane.
Yeah.
So he wasn't going to struggle too much there.
No, now he's going to be playing with Barkov.
Yeah.
Not as good, but hey.
Still pretty good.
It's pretty all right, yeah. And the other one that is no longer with his team, Phil Housley, and that is one that I did not see a single Sabres fan that was disappointed in that firing. They started so strong right? Christmas came, they were on cloud 9, and all of a sudden it fell apart in the second half, in the same way that the Flames fell apart last year in the second half. Maybe not the exact same way, but a reminiscent collapse.
Yep.
Flames held it together this year with a new coach, and hopefully for them next year. And Bill Peters, when he came in, I didn't think Bill Peters was going to be the saving grace for these Flames. Apparently, he was good enough. So he came in, and we'll see what happens next year. Obviously, a lot of moving pieces in Buffalo. Rather, they are not afraid to make trades. They're not allowed to sign not afraid to sign players. They are also allowed.
Not allowed.
They are allowed to sign players. They are not grounded from free agency. They are allowed to do that.
Yeah.
And so, roster-wise, this team could change. It likely will. I wouldn't be surprised to see them make a move for a goaltender. But and also, they need a coach now, and so we'll see who ends up. Big rumors. Todd McClellan is the potential piece there in Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, the big question is how well he's going to do in the interview process with Jack Eichel.
I mean, Jack is a notoriously tough interview.
Yeah.
He stares at you the entire time, and he's shirtless.
Yeah, and he scowls too.
Yeah, it's very unsettling. But you know what?
And then every once in a while, he just gets up and does 10 push-ups.
Yeah.
Just to show you how strong he is.
And then he calls Casey Middlestead in to bring him a soda.
Casey brings it in. He's like, you need to open it for me, Casey.
Yeah. No, I'm fairly certain Sam Reinhart opens it. Reinhart opens it, Casey brings it, and Rasmus Dahlin puts in the straw.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is, it's shocking. Still a plastic straw, Jack Eichel. Not a fan of turtles.
Yeah.
Heard it here first.
Yeah, I mean, are you surprised, though?
No, I'm not. By what I've seen him do to the Joy in Buffalo, I'm not surprised you do the same thing to a turtle. All right. So those are coaching moves. That's what we've done. We've gone through coaching moves. None of them overly surprising.
No.
Not likely to be many more to come. I think the most likely next firing to me would be, depending on how this playoff goes for Columbus, I would still not be surprised if Torts was on the way out in Columbus. I don't think that they made all those moves at the deadline just to sneak into a playoff spot.
Well, I mean, a lot of guys might be out of the door in Columbus. Like, who knows if all their free agents decide not to come back? Is Torts the right guy to lead a ragtag team of bottom 6 players?
I mean, Torts is a ragtag coach of bottom 6 caliber, so it's perfect.
You know what, Carly? You've convinced me.
So
keep Torts.
Yeah,
the only
go.
solution.
That's
but
our
what about
choice.
Philadelphia? Them too, right? Do they have an interim coach right now?
I want to say that he's interim, but could be made full time. There's a lot, right? Edmonton with Hitchcock. There's a lot of moves that need to be decided coaching wise. This is not the end of the coaching decision. It's not like, oh, Tom McClellan's been hired by someone and now we're done. There will be still a lot to happen throughout the off season.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we get into some playoff hockey?
Let's talk playoffs.
Woo! All right. So the way this is going to work, I have gathered a collection of stats. I did show prep. It did not involve pressing a record button, but I prepared stats for us to go over. Now, one thing I want to talk, I was going to get into draft lottery before playoffs. Is there anything to say about the draft lottery other than like, I hope my team wins?
No, that's pretty much it. I'm just going to do a quick tankathon. Edmonton gets the first overall pick.
You've got to be kidding me.
No, Edmonton, Vancouver, LA.
That's not okay.
So let's do some series and maybe we'll do another one of these.
Okay.
Because I can't live with this.
Because I don't want Edmonton, Vancouver, LA. Yikes. So that has what?
Falls to Colorado.
Colorado 4, Detroit 7 in that situation?
6.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there we go. All right. Let us get into it. So you don't know this. We started with Calgary, went all the way through my list of stats. And right before we were about to start Washington, Carolina, Nick stopped me and said, "Can we pause?" And I said, "Yes, I'm going to go pause the recording," and wondered why there was no pause button. And then he asked, "Are you recording?" And that, my friends, is how we ended up here. So we're going to start with Washington, Carolina, because Nick doesn't know that. He doesn't know my stats. He doesn't know what I'm talking about. And we're gonna go from there. So here we go. Washington, Carolina.
Yes.
Washington wins the Metro Division. Carolina wins the wild card. Carolina have the second best Corsi percentage in the league, as compared to Washington at 18, third worst of all playoff teams. And you may say, if Washington's that bad, how do they make the playoffs? Well, Washington also have much less high danger chances. So Carolina's getting chances. And for last year, when Carolina wasn't making the playoffs, I said, well, Carolina being on their bandwagon firmly last year. I watched a lot of Hurricanes games.
Yeah.
And I saw them taking a lot of point shots. Just a lot of bombs from the point, which is what's going to happen when you've got, Noah Hannafin on the point. I can make fun of him because he's not on the team anymore. You get old Dougie Hamilton going to some museums, getting some education in them. Things turn around in Carolina, and all of a sudden, they have a significant amount of high danger chances, much more than they're giving up on the other side. Now, here's the other part. You may think, and I know this because you picked them the first go round as the most likely team to have the worst save percentage in the league.
Yes.
Carolina, better save percentage than the Washington Capitals this year. So there's a lot of things that make, to me, Carolina not as bad as we may think they are. Obviously, save percentage not good. 906 for Carolina, 904 for Washington. Washington's 904 makes them the fourth worst of all the playoffs teams. Carolina, sixth worst. So they're very similar in net, which is weird when you're looking at like a Curtis McElhinney, Peter Mrazek tandem versus Braden Holtby. But you know what? Braden Holtby came into last year and he was not the starting goaltender of that team, and he managed to be, in the end, Stanley Cup winning goaltender.
Yep.
I trust Braden Holtby in the playoffs.
I would too. I mean, some other big differences that aren't deeply researched stats are the Capitals have an Alex Ovechkin. The Hurricanes don't. The Capitals have Stanley Cup winning experience. They've gone through the playoffs all the way to the end and won it. They've also gone through many years of playoffs, and they essentially have the same team as last year. And I think that when it gets to the postseason, experience starts to count a lot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I agree 100%. There's not a lot of, they got Justin Williams on the other side for playoff experience for the Hurricanes, essentially.
Yeah.
Now, you could also say they don't know what they don't know. And we've seen that in the past, right? We saw Vegas last year, a team with, Marc-Andre Fleury as their big playoff experience going on their giant run. It can happen. But I think this matchup will be closer than a normal one versus wild card would be. Carolina's played very well down the stretch. Like every matchup, we'll continually say this throughout, but it comes down to goaltending. Mm-hmm. If you can have, Peter Mrazek play well enough and continue his pace that he's been on, good on them. And I look forward to a great series. I would personally pick Washington probably in 5, though.
Okay, so I've got a story on this before I tell you what my pick is. So I can't remember if it was last night or this morning. I'm scrolling through my Twitter feed and I see one of the stats accounts had projected Carolina winning the series. And I thought to myself, not something I'd ever really considered. But you know what? I could see it happening. Wouldn't shock me. Fast forward to today at work, talking to a colleague about the playoffs, who's going to be a big disappointment, just classic water cooler talk. And I'm like, I saw somewhere that like Carolina could pull it off, and it wouldn't surprise me. They've got some good scorers. If their goalies start clicking, wouldn't surprise me to see them upset Washington. Fast forward another 2 hours. This guy comes by my office. He says, you know what, Nick? You inspired me. I just did my playoff hockey pool. I picked Carolina over Washington. So if I lose, this one's on you.
Yikes.
And that's why I am taking Carolina over Washington, because I hope to God Simon wins his hockey pool.
Yeah. Good luck, Simon. I'm going against it, and we'll see. Maybe Nick and I can agree on some other series, more than we do on this one. So I picked them in 5, whereas as you're saying, Carolina winning outright. In what world? That sounds a lot more aggressive. In what world? Where do you get off? Like, what has to go right for the Hurricanes to win this, or wrong? Like, how? In what situation, what circumstances do you see this happening?
They have to shut down Ovechkin. Like, they need to. They need to minimize the amount of time they spend in the penalty box, and Peter Mrazek, who I assume is the goalie they're going to be going with, has to just go off. He has to.
Yeah. Well, and so looking at, penalties and things such as that, Carolina middle of the pack for penalties taken this year.
Yeah.
Bottom. I'd say top third of the pack in penalty kill. But that's the thing, when you're playing against the Washington Capitals team. And I was going to laugh at what you saying, they have to find a way to shut down Alex Ovechkin. We have known for decades what Alex Ovechkin's shtick is, right?
Yeah.
We can't stop him. No one knows how to stop him. The only way is on the power play is to just not take penalties.
Yeah.
Because everyone knows exactly where he's going to be and exactly what they're going to be trying to do. And it works every single time. He needs, he can have a man on him. He can have, blocked lanes. But when you have that many players, skilled players on the ice, you start moving that puck around, you will eventually lose Alex Ovechkin and he will score on you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I don't disagree with that.
Stay out of the box is the biggest advice to the Carolina Hurricanes.
So you've chosen Washington.
I have, yeah.
But who are you rooting for? Because this is the battle of...
This is bandwagon versus bandwagon, yeah.
The battle of the bandwagons.
I would love, my heart wants Carolina to win. I would love that so much. They've been so fun this year. Their storm surge, them making the playoffs. There's so many young, fun players to watch on this team that I really would love to see Carolina win.
Me too.
Yeah. I would love, I think of any team in the Eastern Conference, I would want, of the 8 teams in the East, I think I would love Carolina the most because they're fun. Like, it would be interesting just for storyline sakes for the Islanders to make it. I don't want to watch Matt Martin in the playoffs. I don't want to watch him in the Stanley Cup Finals. I would love to watch Sebastian Aho a lot more. I would love to watch Teravainen. I would love to watch all of these players do well deep. Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. I generally pick one upset in each conference, and this is the one I'm picking this year.
Well, there we go. Let's head to the Islanders and Pittsburgh, one that with Nick saying he picks one upset. We'll see which one he goes here.
This was a series I think is actually closer than I thought it would be.
Well, and so here's my stats for this one.
Okay.
And it's close-ish to the last one. It's goaltending, right? The New York Islanders are where they are because of Robin Lehner. And the fact that he managed, thankfully, even outside of hockey, he managed to get things in order in the offseason, went to New York, got his game back in shape, and was able to have a fantastic season for the Islanders, one that the Buffalo Sabres certainly wished he could have had when he was with them. So, Islanders, no surprise, leading the league in goals against, save percentage, et cetera, et cetera. It is hard to score on this team. Now, on the flip side, you take a team with Crosby and Malkin and Kessel and a lot of offensive power, you're going to score, right? So you have those two things coming against each other. Now, my stat, I don't know. Okay, that's high danger scoring chances. So again, we're talking high danger, and that's in that plate area if you're not accustomed to that. which really describing that's difficult on an audio podcast because I just drew it. But that home plate, kind of from the dots down, is what we're looking for in that area. That's high danger.
Yeah.
And so not Washington, the Islanders do not give up very many chances in that area. 7th fewest in the league, whereas Pittsburgh 27th in the league, which is also shocking because the Pittsburgh Penguins and Matt Murray, he has given up the largest average goal distance, which just means he's given up a lot of weak goals. Matt Murray is. He is far worst at 29 goals. Robin Lehner, 20. So 29 versus 20 for goal distance. Defensively, the system around Robin Lehner is also quite good. Barry Trotz, the new coach of the Islanders, led the Capitals to defeat the Pittsburgh Penguins. Trotz knows these Pens very well. This is not a team that is not going to be well, or they're going to be very prepared for the Penguins. And for me, I can't pick a team with that little offensively. I got to go Pittsburgh in this.
Yeah, I got to go Pittsburgh too. I mean, looking at the Islanders D pairs, like as individuals, I have a hard time seeing them shut down the offense that Pittsburgh has. Like, I know you said they shut down a lot of high danger chances. They didn't give up too many. But 7 games in a row, or 4 or 5 or 6 or however many of Crosby and Malkin and Kessel and Gensel just charging the net. I don't know, man.
That is going to be the only way the Islanders get out of this series, is by stopping the Penguins from scoring, which not the easiest of tasks. Obviously, the Penguins have been good for quite some time. 6th in the league in goals this year. A lot of offense coming from Pittsburgh as per usual.
Yeah. So can you win a series by turtling?
We're about to find out. I mean, they won this many games with turtling, right? We've seen it happen in the past. I don't think they can, though.
No, I don't think so either. I'm going Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I'm not sure it counts as turtling when you literally just can't score. There's no one on this team that can be trusted to, sure, they have Barzal. That's fantastic. But outside of him, there's not a lot on this team that really gets me fired up.
Well, that's it. And you can't do it alone.
Yeah.
He can't be the one to score all the goals all the time.
I don't know how, this speaks to the New York Islanders. And I know that this is not accurate. This is a video game conversation, but I was playing some NHL 19 this week. And I was using the New York Islanders. And they had a power play unit that featured Matt Martin and Leo Komarov.
Oh, God.
And the fact that even that's an option for NHL 19 speaks to the fact that this team, and if you look at it, it's like, yeah, who else are they going to put out there, right? It doesn't make a lot of sense for them to have them out there, but there's not a whole lot, right? You've got Barzal, Bailey, Brock Nelson, Anders Lee as that, Jordan Eberle as the 5 offensive guys. So yes, but you stack one of those with 4, all of a sudden you've only got, one of those on another unit, right? You put Brock Nelson on a second unit, it's gonna, ideally it's not gonna work well for you. So yeah, Pittsburgh, we agree on this one?
Pittsburgh, we agree.
Here we go. Let's see in the East.
Okay.
Boston, Toronto.
It's probably going to be the toughest series to call.
And I think the most critiqued, the most watched. Right? You take the Toronto media, you take not everyone is removing Toronto media from their platforms in the middle of their season like we did. Right? It's not a commonly taken approach, but we did. We're unorthodox, some might say.
Are risk takers.
Yeah. But we have Boston and Toronto, a rematch of last year in which Boston won in 7 games. And I look at these two teams, not very much is different from last year, right? These are very similar, with one great exception. Jonathan Tavares has been added to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I would think John Tavares, owner of many goals, score of all the things could be enough to help one of those very close games for the Toronto Maple Leafs be swung the other way. The Toronto Maple Leafs team is finally healthy. Obviously, Freddie Anderson has been, he's banged up. They've said it. They still don't give him time off. Don't do that. They will replace the backup goaltender. They'll shuffle those deck chairs. Swap out Garrett Sparks for Michael Hutchinson. And sure. I think that was the recipe for success. This team's primed for Stanley Cup.
I don't know, Carl. I mean, I see what you're saying about they have a John Tavares this year who could have made a huge difference in that series last year. But they also had a John Tavares all year this year, and their record against Boston was not pretty.
So what was their record against the Bruins?
Out of 4 games, they won 1 single game against Boston. They lost 3.
That's not good though.
It's not good.
So so they didn't do that. Who did Toronto beat then? Because they had to beat somebody, right? In that Atlantic Division. We saw them lose to Montreal this week. We saw them lose to Tampa. We saw them lose to the Hurricanes.
Just for fun, let's look at their record against Ottawa. They lost 3 of their 4 games to Ottawa.
So they lost 3 or 4 to Boston. So they went a combined 2-8 against the Bruins and Senators.
Yeah. They won all 4 games against Buffalo.
Okay. So there you go. That's how. So you're a playoff team based on beating Buffalo. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And Montreal. They beat Boston, Montreal, and for some reason they got to also play the Devils for a lot of games and got all 6 points against them. Toronto's a good team, right? Let's not beat around the bush. They're a fantastic team. They're going to do well in the playoffs. That said, they're a team with some great flaws, much like Boston is, right? Boston managed the biggest difference between Boston and Toronto this year. Well, and I guess last year the same thing happened is Mike Babcock does not know how to use a backup goaltender, and Bruce Cassidy does. Yaroslav Halak played 40-plus games this season. Tuukka Rask is fresh for the playoffs. There is no question that Rask is going to be the goaltender for the Leafs this year. Freddie Anderson... Yes, for the Bruins, rather. Freddie Anderson banged up, not 100%, and not coming in fresh. Couldn't even bother to give him a day off against the Habs when you're not playing any of your defenders.
Okay. Yeah, that was inexcusable because that game meant nothing. But in Mike Babcock's defense, neither of their backup options are really that good.
That's fair. So
throughout the season, he doesn't really have a choice. He's got to play Freddie.
So what you're telling me is Kyle Dubas is bad at his job.
I mean, I didn't say that in as many words. I may have implied it.
Yep.
But no, I don't believe it.
Okay. So I was gonna say, are you saying that now? On the record, Nick Sagan, is Kyle Dubas bad at his job?
You can see the beads of sweat showing up on my forehead.
I'm Jack Eichling this interview. Casey, get in here. So, it's going to be a close series. I see it going 7 games either way, and I want 7 games. This is a series that I will be watching every single game of, for sure. Especially, except for game 2, because I'll probably be heading over to the Saddle Dome to watch the Avalanche.
Well, there you go. It's going to be a very exciting series. I think it's going to be it's going to be the series that gets the most attention because it's probably the closest and the tightest. And Brad Marchand's going to do something stupid at some point to get everyone's attention and get deeper into the Leafs' heads. And it's all a mental game at this point.
What do you think he's going to do? He has licked people. He has kissed people. He has bitten things that he should not be biting. If you had to put your money on something, what is Brad Marchand's 2019 tactic?
What is he going to use his mouth for this year?
Yeah.
I truly don't know. You could have asked me the same question last year and I wouldn't have come up with licking.
Yeah. No one would have.
So I don't know what he's going to do. He's going to do something though.
It's going to be good. I want them to mic up mic him up. I know that would be entirely unusable for network television, but
that would be great, though.
Make it happen. Mic up somebody in this series so that we can hear what Marchand has to say.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll just be a lot of chirps about Mitch Marner's contract. That'd be all right. And we know he's dove. He's dipped his toes in that water before.
Divin in.
That's why we're not writers. That's why I'm not a writer. That's why we talk. We're really good at this.
This is what happens when you talk for 2 straight hours.
This is what happens when you throw away episode 1 of the podcast and you have to do it again after a day of teaching.
It all just turns into gibberish.
It's all fine. Yeah. Nick's water cooler talk is going to be a hot mess tomorrow.
Hey.
Poor Simon in his bracket.
Poor Simon in his bracket.
All right. So I'm taking the Leafs. You're taking the Bruins. Yes?
I'm taking the Bruins at 7.
All right, there we go. Let's go Tampa and Columbus. This was a series where I tried to find a stat that can make it even seem remotely close that Tampa and Columbus are going to be in the same conversation when it comes to the playoffs. Here we go. Here's my stat that makes it seem like Columbus has a chance.
Okay, let's hear it.
Tampa and Columbus both have only 3 players apiece that have scored more than 60 points this season.
Really? Both of them?
Both of them, yeah.
How are they so far in the standings? How are they so far apart?
Well, here's what I'm going to tell you. So let's dive through them.
Okay.
First in points for Tampa, Nikita Kucherov. You might have heard of him.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the name.
Most points ever for a Russian player.
Right.
Player. Yeah, pretty good.
Wow. He plays for Tampa.
He plays for Tampa. Yeah, you may have heard of him. It's fine. First up for Columbus, a guy we've already talked about today, Artemi Panarin.
Look at that.
Also Russian.
Yeah,
that's where the Russian stops. Next up for Tampa, second, Steven Stamkos, 98 points. Cam Atkinson, second for Columbus, 69 points.
Yeah.
A mere 29 points less than Stammer. For Tampa, we've got Braden Point clocking in at 92, 31 points below him, Pierre-Luc Dubois. So, which says to me, both of these teams driven by 3 main players, right? Like, it's actually shocking to me how much it dives off a cliff. You know that Kucherov and Stamkos have been great. Braden Point has magically blossomed into this special thing that Steve Yzerman found and took a chance on. But like after that, there are a plethora of teams that have guys like it's Victor Hedman at 54 points is 4th on this team. In the forward groupings, you've got Yanni Gourde at 48. This Tampa team is driven by those 3 players, and that is it. Whereas like you look at Columbus, and I'm like, that they have some depth. You've got Josh Anderson at 47. You have that same, like that second tier of points is similar. If you're only looking at that. And so both of these teams, I was actually shocked how much Tampa is solely driven by these 3 in the same way Columbus is.
It's an interesting stat. I think Tampa, so a lot of their offense comes from the top 3 guys, sure, but I think that the rest of their lineup is still built to compete. Like, they're certainly better defensively than Columbus is.
Absolutely, yeah.
They're
yes. I would say top end. Columbus's defense, nothing to be disappointed about, right? You've got a defense with Zach Werenski and Seth Jones. That's a good defense.
For sure, that's a good defense. And they're fun to watch, too. They're good players. I just think Tampa's bigger. They're faster. They're stronger. And they've got the swagger. They've got the confidence.
Yeah. I would say even in net, right? Sergei Bobrovsky, one of the better goaltenders in the league. Andrei Vasilevsky might be better.
Yeah.
Right? Like he's shown what he can do. And the biggest thing with those three Columbus players are on one line. And that's a big issue, right? Tampa has Stamkos on a separate line from Kucherov and Point. And that's a big issue. That you now have to shut down 2 lines with Columbus, as Columbus, you have to shut down both of those lines. And that, as the entire National Hockey League has proven, not that easy.
Nope. Tampa can spread out that talent.
They most certainly
Spread
can.
it all out over the 4 games that they're going to need to play.
Yeah, all 24 goals are going to score in 4 games.
Yeah.
Let's head out. So we agree on that. We've agreed on 2 out of 4 so far.
2 out of 4. Yeah.
Pretty good. Let's head out east. Which way do you want to start this? Do you want to do reverse order from last time as well?
Yeah, might as well.
All right, there we go. We're going to go St. Louis and Winnipeg. This is the 2 versus 3 in the Central Division. St. Louis, a team that was at the bottom of the league, shockingly late into the season for a team that made the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The St. Louis Blues, since the All-Star break, have given up the fewest goals in the league. Winnipeg has given up the 11th most. And during that stretch, St. Louis has a 1.0 goal differential. Winnipeg, 0.16. St. Louis almost scoring an entire goal, or I guess has a differential of almost an entire goal over Winnipeg in the last 2.5 months of the season. That, to me, is a sizable sample size.
But does that mean they're scoring more? It means you said it yourself, they've let in the least amount of goals since the All-Star break, right?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you the answer to your question if you filibuster long enough.
Okay. Because I know that there's been some chatter out there that St. Louis could beat Winnipeg. I am hesitant to put the outcome of the series on the shoulders of a rookie goaltender.
Okay, here's a stat.
Okay.
They essentially score the exact same amount.
Right.
3.18 versus 3.1. It doesn't matter who's which. St. Louis is higher though. But yeah. It's Jordan Binnington is the reason that this team is in the it's well known that he's the reason this team is in the playoffs. He's the reason for that stat. He is the reason for everything with the St. Louis Blues. This team offensively as good as the Jets. But in net, they've been much better.
Yeah, and how long is that going to last for? Like this is what I don't, and I know I've been saying this for like weeks now. Like, how long can this guy keep it up? And he continues to keep it up. But I also feel like he hasn't been playing in a lot of high pressure, high stakes situations that the playoffs present. Yeah,
here I'm gonna pull up some numbers here as we do this because there's a comparison that I think could be apt with a a Winnipeg-esque angle on it. Jordan Binnington's numbers are ridiculously good.
How old is he? 24?
He's 25 years old. So he's coming into the league 25 years old, a .927 save percentage. My comparison that I was going to make, and it's still former Calder Trophy winner, Steve Mason.
Okay.
Former Winnipeg Jet, very briefly, obviously. But he came in and was fantastic for a year and then really slowed down at the end. Was out of the league by 29.
Yeah.
Goalies are a fickle situation. Jordan, he's started 30 games, right? 30 games start is something that you have seen flashes in the pan much more. And for a 25-year-old, what made it that St. Louis didn't think that he was the guy last year at 24, 23, 22? This was a guy that did not have that much potential outside of it, right? They were like, you know what? Jake Allen's so bad, we might as well give this Binnington guy a chance. And you can't even say kid. He's 25.
Yep.
So, yeah, you look at what he's done. I'm not going to discredit what he's done. He has done it, right? But
yeah, absolutely. And maybe there's something to be said for momentum too, that, you know, he's gathered all this momentum and he's carrying it right through into the first round of the playoffs with him.
I think if you were to listen to mainstream hockey media, they would say something like, he's really seeing the puck well right now, Nick.
Sure.
Not a fan.
I don't know. What does that mean? I see the puck well on TV too.
Yeah, I also do. So there's a lot going on for him. He's playing fantastic. He has done great things for the Blues. And I, at this point, have a hard time saying no to him right now. Like, I'm taking the Blues for sure. I'm going to ride that hot hand the entire way. All you need is one hot goaltender to take you places, and I believe in Jordan.
That is true, especially in the playoffs. I think that having a hot goaltender like that too allows the rest of the team to calm down a little bit and not worry so much about letting goals in, and they can focus on scoring. That being said, I think the Winnipeg Jets are bigger, they're stronger, they're scarier. I think they're just an overall better team from top to bottom, and I think they're going to win the series. St. Louis might give them a run for their money, but I think ultimately it's going to be Winnipeg.
Which team? So you talk about scarier. Winnipeg grows a better playoff beard?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Don't you?
I don't know. We don't get to see a lot of St. Louis Blues playoff beards. They usually get pretty short, and then they shave them.
Yeah, it's true.
So we'll see. Vladimir Tarasenko, not a great playoff beard. Like, that does not have some great facial hair on him. But
no, I can't imagine.
I mean, I think that's what everyone's here for, is our facial hair analysis. And so let's carry on to Nashville versus Dallas, the Central Division champions versus the second wild card. This is a matchup that I see, and I'll tell you why. This is one, if you want a flashy, exciting series, tune in everywhere else. But if you want close hockey with a chance for lengthy overtime, this is the one for you. Dallas has given up the second fewest goals in the National Hockey League this year. Nashville, the third fewest. Nashville also has the worst power play in the league. Speaking to how important power play is, Dallas, the fifth best penalty kill. There will not be a lot of special teams points. There will not be a lot of points in general. Pick every game. When we do high sticking for this series, every game's 2-1 Nashville.
Yeah, or 1-0. Or 3-1. Never discount the empty net.
Don't do it. Don't you dare do it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm like at this. I'm trying to rack my brain to think about what we talked about last time we did this, but I don't have much to say about the series. I think Nashville is just a better team. I would give them the edge in goaltending just based on the past. I think they've got better decor. They've got better top six. So, yeah, I mean, I could see them do it in 4.
Yeah, they're deeper across the board, up front, defense. Literally, their owner didn't call out their best players this year in order to spark it. Maybe what I do want to see is what will be said when the Stars go down 2-0 on the road. They come back home. What is the owner going to do? Will they trot a horse out to center ice to drop the ceremonial puck? Will that happen?
Okay, I was wondering where you were going with that. I'm glad you said drop the puck.
Well, you never know what horses do, Nick. You never know.
And it is Texas, so there's lots of horses.
There's horses everywhere, yeah. All right, let's go San Jose and Vegas. The 2 versus 3 in the West, out in the Pacific Division. And this is a matchup. Martin Jones and the San Jose Sharks have the worst save percentage in the National Hockey League this year, and yet made the playoffs, which speaks to the fact of how great this team is offensively. Both of these teams, second and third in the league in Corsi, with almost identical numbers. Possession-wise, fantastic. Obviously, the biggest difference is the goaltending. But both of these teams have an addition that has come back. Erik Karlsson has missed a substantial amount of the season with injury. He is back and healthy, or I guess as healthy as one can be for a guy in Erik Karlsson who's been injured repeatedly year in, year out. Mark Stone, the big addition for the Vegas Golden Knights, not because of injury. They made a trade with the Ottawa Senators. What are you thinking? For me, this is a series that's going to go either way, to the point that I don't remember who I picked the first time. This is going to be very fresh. I'm going to go with the Vegas Golden Knights simply on the fact of goaltending. Marc-Andre Fleury has been better. He has shown what he can do in the playoffs. He's shown what he can do in the playoffs with Vegas. Martin Jones, less so for San Jose.
You picked Vegas last time, too.
Consistent. Probably for a similar reason?
Yeah, I think so.
All right, there we go.
I mean, you didn't lay it out so clearly. We had more of a discussion about it. It wasn't as one-sided as that ended up being, but that's fine.
I'm sorry, Nick. Do we want... I know Joel's not here. Do we want to step onto the counseling couch real quick?
No, it's fine. Let's just scrap the whole episode and start from scratch.
Joke's on you. I haven't been recording.
Yeah.
I stopped the recording 5 minutes. I just wanted to hang out tonight, man. There's no hockey. I have nothing to do when we stop recording this episode.
There is no hockey. Very little hockey. I think that this series is one of the closest, like along with Boston, Toronto. It's almost too close to call for me. I think it's definitely going to 7 games. I don't know why, but my gut is telling me San Jose.
Okay.
I think that might be part heart picking because I kind of want them to win. But both of these teams made additions by trade to make themselves better. But I think San Jose has an element of they've got a lot of veteran players who spent a lot of times playing in the playoffs. And every year they're good enough to compete, but they're never good enough to make it. And I think that this year they make it.
Yeah, the San Jose Sharks are a team that have been perennial playoff teams for as long as the Hurricanes weren't making the playoffs. And so now the Hurricanes are in, great. Sharks still doing well. And you never know, right? Like, you got to think Joe Thornton, every year it's iffy if he returns what he does. It's essentially the Sharks have just a blank check with his name on it.
Yeah.
He just has to sign a contract. So whenever he wants to, if they manage to win the Stanley Cup this year, got to think Joe Thornton's going out on top, which would be a fantastic thing for everyone. That's a guy that I don't know a whole lot of people around the league that don't have something good to say about Joe Thornton.
Yeah. And he probably, he deserves a Stanley Cup, but I don't know if he's going to get one.
I don't think they're not my pick to win the Stanley Cup this year.
No,
obviously, I didn't even pick them to get past the Knights, but there's a lot of good teams that they would have to get through. And but I wouldn't be sad if San Jose wins. That'd be all right,
Yeah, and I could very easily see it going to the Knights too. It wouldn't surprise me at all.
The only reason that I think you should spread it out is that the Bay Area already has the Golden State Warriors. You don't also need the San Jose Sharks winning the Stanley Cup. Spread it out a little bit. Maybe when's the last time someone in Denver won a championship? The Broncos? Come on now. Let's make it happen.
When was that?
Well, they went
Avs
against
won in 2001.
Yeah.
So when the Broncos win?
Broncos, I don't recall.
I don't think it was.
They played the Seahawks. The Peyton Manning one, I don't think they won that, did they? Super Bowl?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So, it's too bad. Anyways. Send one to Denver. Let's go there. Let's go, well, not to Denver. We could go to Denver if you want to.
I've been to Denver. It's a great city.
I have been to Denver as well. I've actually spent a shockingly large amount of time. That's the city in the United States I have spent the most time. Actually, it's not even Denver. Boulder, Colorado.
I like Boulder, Colorado.
Boulder is a beautiful city.
Yeah, it really is.
It's
also in that one famous song that I like.
Which one?
The one by the Chainsmokers. I think it's by the Chainsmokers.
It's not that famous now, is it?
Of your rover. You know that song?
Oh yeah. That one with Coldplay.
Mattress with your roommate back in Boulder.
Oh, I don't listen to the song, the lyrics. I just sing the song. I make them up as I go. I just mumble and then I sing the chorus. That's how I roll.
So Colorado in 7?
Colorado. Whew.
Give us your stat. Let's hear the stat.
I cannot think rationally about this series. Calgary, terrible goaltending. We know. We've known that all year. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
Calgary Flames have the second worst save percentage of any playoff team, 21st worst in the National Hockey League. I guess 21st best, 10th, 12th worst. How does that work? They're bad. They're 21st in save percentage.
Yeah.
They also have a comparatively really bad on the penalty kill. They have the second worst penalty kill save percentage. So they're giving up a lot of very big chances. Either that or for some reason, David Riddick and Mike Smith just decide to not stop pucks on the penalty kill. That to me tells me they're giving up a lot of really good chances on the penalty kill. The Avs have a great power play, 7th best in the NHL, 22%. They draw a fair amount of penalties because they even have more goals than that, 4th in power play goals. This team is fast. The Avalanche team is fast. Flames are fast as well, don't get me wrong. But speed, one way to catch up to it is to try to grab them, slow them down, That leads to penalties. And when you have a goaltending tandem as bad as Mike Smith and David Riddick, that spells disaster.
Okay. I think that having a good power play is crucial because when you get an opportunity like that, you have to convert on it. And it's where you get those extra goals that win games, especially 1-goal games. You need to be able to convert on the power play. That being said, here's why I don't think this stat is as relevant, and I don't have my own stats to back this up, but we are in the playoffs, Carl. It's postseason time, and that means we are in quote-unquote let them play season.
Ooh.
And I think that the refs put the whistles away a lot more. They call a lot less penalties, and there's a lot less time spent on the power play.
I can agree with that for sure. Let's I'll pull up as an example. I'm just gonna take a look at Colorado's matchup last year against Nashville and how penalties compared between that series last year and this one here. That might even be a very difficult thing to pull up on the fly, and so we'll see if I can do that. But yeah, definitely, I think that goes without saying that penalties are much less in the playoffs. There's a lot less of them happening rather. And so you do have to, when you get them, take advantage of it. Colorado scores about a fifth of their opportunities. And it really comes down to like a goal or two either way, right? Come playoff time. And it's really, that's what a good power play can swing for you in over the course of an entire series. You're talking a goal or two. But if these are close games, which I hope they are, you need that, right? For sure. That's a thing you're going to need. So, yeah, I as longtime listeners are well aware, I have a very hard time speaking. I can speak realistically of my team, but when it comes to prognostication, I have a hard time speaking positively of my Avalanche. I am taking the Flames in this series, and I hope with everything within me that I am wrong. I
said I pick one upset in each conference, and this is the one I'm picking.
Oh.
Colorado over Calgary. And actually, Simon, water cooler Simon.
I was going to say, I was literally about to ask who Simon took.
Simon is from Calgary.
Oh.
Big Flames fan.
Okay.
But I said, Simon, I got a bad feeling about your Flames, buddy. I think the Avalanche are going to disappoint them. And he said, you know what, Nick? I could see that. Yeah,
I can see that as well. And I hope you and Simon are correct and that you can both celebrate the Flames. I'm hoping to be at game 2 in this series. So if you're also at game 2, say hi. And if you're watching at home, try to find me. I'm not going to be close enough. The cameras are going to find me. Don't worry about that. I'm going to be way up high. You're not going to see me.
Just a pixel on my screen.
Yeah, just a tiny, tiny speck. Possibly wearing Avalanche gear. Still haven't settled on that one. I know you've said I should wear it proudly.
You should.
I've been having a conversation with Avalanche fans about that, but we'll see. We will see. So Nick's picking Flames. It's going to be a tight series, I think, which is weird for, like, the Flames have done this all year, that they've managed to win in spite of their goaltending, right? Because even if you look at like goals against, this team's not that bad, right? Like, they have a save percentage that's near the bottom, but they're only 9th in goals against. So there's not as many shots happening, which is great when you're not stopping them. And part of that comes from having such a great offense as well, right?
Yeah.
And also fantastic defense in front of them. They have still to this day, I know we've been saying this for years, but the Flames have fantastic defense. Defensively, I pick the Flames. Goaltending, I'm picking the Avalanche. And up front, if the Avs can get Mikko Rantanen back, which it is not looking like he is going to be ready for game 1. There's no update as of yet about his status. You do not have him. That is a major piece that the Avs are missing. I still got to go Flames on this.
Yeah, not having Rantanen hurts.
Yeah,
I forgot about that actually. But I'm sticking with my upset story.
Do you want to just quickly send Simon a text and let him know?
Simon, FYI.
Just so you know, they don't have Rantanen. Abandoned plan.
Carl, we're talking, this is water cooler talk. We're not text buddies.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. Maybe exchange numbers. Maybe followed you on Twitter for those sweet, sweet Flames Avs injury updates.
God, I hope he didn't.
Was it this version of the podcast or last version of the podcast where we make comments that your family shouldn't listen to?
That was the last version of the podcast.
You're welcome.
I think because we were talking about Joel Quenneville moving to. Maybe that was this version.
No, we'll find out when I go back and edit.
When we listen back, this is good content, Carl.
This is fantastic. Do you want to hand out a high sticking winner?
First, let me do a tankathon and get Edmonton out of the number 1 pick.
Please do.
LA, Colorado, Detroit. 1, 2, 3.
I'll take that. I will take that. Are you sad?
A little bit, but I'll take it.
I mean,
I'll take top 3. I have no problem with that.
Number 3 is you moving up.
Yep.
There's no way to be sad about moving on up.
Yeah, I will take that.
All right. So the way high sticking works is throughout the regular season, we've been doing, we pick our Pavel Bure must-watch games. We don't do that anymore. They're all must-watch games. This is the playoffs. Right? Watch them all. You've got at most, 8 series, 56 first-round games. We are playing high sticking for all 56 possible games in the first round.
So many games.
I'm going to wake up Thursday morning and I'm going to hand out high sticking points for all 5 games that happen Wednesday night. It's a lot, but for you, the listener, I will do it.
So dedicated, Carl.
So you head there. Every day we will ask you who you think is going to win. I also made a Google form that makes it a little bit easier for me. And so you could fill out the form and dump all your answers there. You can answer on Twitter. Either way, you get in. If you pick the winner, you get a point. If you pick the right score, you get 3 points. If you pick one of the scores right and the winner, you only get 2. At the end of it, we hand out prizes, and we usually do one per round. So every round of the playoffs, you also do this. You can also join our bracket challenge. Bracket challenge, I'm proposing, Nick, you get a puck and a coaster if you win our bracket challenge.
Whoa, what a prize.
Right? So you get some fourth line swag. You're also going to get each round of the playoffs. We will hand out one as well. And so stay tuned on High Sticking. Join our bracket group. That'll be in the episode description as well. So that'll be there. You can join our league. You can follow us on Twitter at Fourth Line Podcast. But we need to hand out the last regular season High Sticking point. I've got the old random number generator pulled up right here. And it is a deep number. That is number 177. That's going to someone who hopes we're wrong with our predictions, Mr. CBJ Abroad. The Columbus Blue Jackets fan from the other side of the world. Not sure. I was going to say his name. I don't know if it's a his or a her name, but congratulations nonetheless. Send us a DM. Let us know if you want a puck or a coaster, and we will be sending it abroad to you. Let us know where to send that.
Go Jackets.
Yeah, hopefully your Jackets put up a good showing before they all become Florida Panthers. That being said, join us on Twitter. You can head on over there. You can find our episode, our bracket challenge there. If you don't want to do it in the episode description, you can play High Sticking every single day of the playoffs. There is some talk of a new High Sticking format, like wide sweeping High Sticking changes coming for next year. And so who knows what that's going to be. We're in very, very preliminary talks about that. We've got the whole off season to worry about that, which is what I said last off season as well. And then like 2 days before the season, I'm like, hey, Joel, what do you think about this? And we went with it. So, which is great. It's always nice to just have a way to hang out with you on Twitter every single day. It's a lot of fun, and we greatly enjoy that. The Alberta Podcast Network is a fantastic place to go for all things podcasts. And as we get into these playoffs, I think it is an appropriate time to highlight, and I know that they've had some fantastic content coming out as well. Both of their teams of the Hockey Fields podcast, if you head to hockeyfields.wordpress.com or at Hockey Fields on Twitter, Oilers, Flyers, neither of them in the playoffs, but they've had some fantastic stuff as well in dealing with the NWHL, CWHL issue, which there was so much with our playoff preview. We did not get to dive into that, and nothing's really official with that yet. And so I think we'll save that for a later date when there's a little less NHL news, and dive more into that when it becomes official instead of hypothesizing on what may be. But I know they dove into that. You can head on over there. They're the other NHL show on the Alberta Podcast Network, and it is great. And if you also similarly, we'll plug our own show. The Fourth Line also has a WHL podcast. We come out, usually try to get one out every 2 weeks. The WHL playoffs are in the middle of the second round right now, and so you can listen to me, Andy, and Ryan talk about the WHL, which is a fun time. You can find us at thefourthlinepodcast.com, at Fourth Line Podcast on Twitter, Facebook.com/The Fourth Line Podcast. We are on every podcast streaming service that you want, and if we're not on the one that you use, tell us, and we'll fix it. But that should not be the case. Nick, we've made it. My voice is dying. I need water. I did not refill this glass of water. I pressed record. It's still going. We did it.
So it's time for us to wrap up another Fourth Line show. I know what you're thinking. You don't want us to go. I forgot to write the words for tonight's song, but I'm pretty sure that all my first round predictions will be wrong.